Hey, welcome back to Next Third Best Third. I'm David Fenwick, the founder and the host, and today I've got my friend Richard Neusch back with me for this episode. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much.
What we're going to talk about today, we have 5 pillars of Next Third Best Third, and they all interact, but it's your thought life, your physical condition, your emotional well-being, relationships, and then lies that we believe that really damage us. But today we're going to talk about relationships, and specifically we're going to talk about marriage. Now,
I love it.
I'm not married anymore.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
44 years.
44 years. So if you need to hear about marriage, obviously we've got the right guy in here. But one of the things that I've found with so many men that I work with is that there's really seems to be a general struggle with marriages. There's so much going on financially. There's so much going on with the stresses of life. There's just so many marriages that are just in tough shape. So why don't you just open this up? Go with any direction you feel, and we'll just see what happens. But let's dig into this.
One of the things that I so love is when God created Adam. He said, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. It's very good. And then there was one thing that was not good. And that was the fact that man was alone. And here's the crazy thing, David. Adam lived in a perfect environment. No sin, no temptation. He was in charge. He had this perfect relationship with God.
Yeah.
Says they used to walk in the cool of the garden. And I'm sure they'd slap each other on the back and talk and all of this. But at one point, basically, God said, Adam, I'm not enough for you.
Wow.
And this really does shock a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And what God was saying, he goes, I created you for significant relationships that I cannot satisfy. And so the idea that, oh, God will be enough, that's all I need, that's not true. Whether it's a marriage or a band of brothers, we were created for those connections.
That's right.
And God alone, yes, he's sufficient. Yes, he's great, all this stuff. But he created the system to where for us to be whole, for us to be fully complete and alive, takes others as well.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk all the time about how having honest relationships with one another is so key to us overcoming our struggles and to being the best that we can be. But so let's dig into this. It's not good for man to be alone. He made Eve. And by the way, so many cultures and religions have a garden story.
Yeah.
Right. So the story is just beautiful, and how it shows exactly this, that we were made for relationships.
Yes.
So, all right. So today, it's not good for man to be alone, but some of the guys I'm talking with, it's not so good to be married either. They're having trouble.
Yeah.
So,
let me add a little bit more to the Adam and Eve story. To me, it's one of the absolute funniest stories in the Bible.
Okay.
And so God said, I'll make a helpmate suitable for you. It'll be a perfect fit. And so what did God do? He marched every creature that had ever been created was marched before Adam. And Adam's goal, yes, he got to name them. That was a side thing. His goal was to find this perfect helpmate. Okay. That's what he's looking for. And so all these animals, and he doesn't even know what he's looking for. He has no idea. And here comes this giraffe. And it's like, oh, I don't, and then this hippopotamus, and then this horse, and and he's like, I don't know. And then an orangutan. He goes, oh, it's definitely better than the hippo. Pretty hairy. And this whole time, that's his goal, is to find that perfect match. And it says at the end, but there was not found that perfect helpmate. And I think, David, God may have been standing behind Adam chuckling. What about this one, Adam? What about that one? And I think, this is my opinion, I think at the very end, when he goes, well, that's the last one, I think there was something, Adam, that was just like, do we have to go back and see them all again and pick one?
So funny.
And so God, as you know, put him to sleep, took part of him out, created Eve. And I love what the Living Translation says. The King James says, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I wouldn't have said that. It's like, come on. I love what the Living Translation, it says, wow, this is it. And the point of that, if God had not marched every living creature in front of Adam, in the back of his mind, I wonder if there's something better. And so the way it all was set up was that God so solidified within Adam's heart, there's nothing I've ever created, Adam, that will satisfy you like this.
Yeah.
You've seen them all.
Yeah.
This is the one. And so he says, wow, this is it. He didn't know what he was looking for, but when he saw her, he knew.
That's good.
That is the depth of a good father providing for us. If we truly understood and we valued them, that there's nothing on earth, no amount of money, no amount of career, no amount of stuff, nothing that will bring the depth of satisfaction like relationships, whether you're married or not. But in marriage, there is nothing that will bring that depth of oneness and togetherness like that.
It's interesting because of, again, so many people that I work with are wrestling. They're having marriage. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing more is it's actually now it's the woman who is initiating the divorces and things like that. That's a cultural phenomenon that we're seeing. But this whole thing of saying, this woman, this is just exactly what I need, and we're talking about overarching, right? It's not individual, women, because there's, in this world today, so many guys get in trouble saying, I wonder if this is really the best,
Yeah.
That's tricky there. But so as men are looking at their lives right now, and we're talking about both married men and guys who aren't, and who might be looking for a spouse or wondering if they're ever going to find one. Talk into what a man can be doing right now to really have their marriages flourish.
I think he really needs to, if you don't mind me saying, follow the words of Christ. When he says, husbands, love your wives as I love the church.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, that's great. What does that mean? There's three very practical aspects of how Christ loved the church. Number one, he always initiated the love.
Yes.
And here's the thing. If Christ said to do this, he'll give you the grace for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to you. It's not up to me to love Sylvia.
Sylvia's his wife, by the way.
Yeah, she's
And she's amazing.
I've never met anybody that can hold a candle to her. But the point is, I had to come to the place where I need your grace to initiate love for her.
Yeah.
Because you said to do this, and so since you did, I received grace for that. So number one, Christ always initiated. Second, it was continuous. He didn't say, you're a knucklehead, I'll walk with you for 7 years. If you don't straighten up, you're out. But there was this continuous in his heart, I will never leave you or forsake you. And so the way Christ loved us, there was never a moment when he stopped. Never a moment.
Despite our own stupidity and the things we've done wrong, and right?
There's never a moment that he is not pursuing us.
That's good.
It's continuous. And the third, it wasn't conditional.
Come on.
And that's, I think, one of the problems is we put conditions.
Absolutely, yeah.
On a relationship. I'll love you if, I'll love you when. And God never did that for us.
So we've done, I'm sure you and I together have done officiated so many weddings, right?
Yes.
And I've done so many premarital counseling. But the one thing that I always say to guys, and it comes from that scripture that you were talking about, it says, to love your wives as Christ loved the church. I always say this, I go, did he have any expectations of you? Like, what could you give him, really? I mean, if you think about it, if you're good enough, well, that's not the gospel. If you do enough good works, that's not it. You had nothing really to bring. You just had your dirty self. This is who I am. It's I got nothing to offer you but this. But he had no expectations of us. And I tell guys all the time, and I just performed a wedding the other day, and during the ceremony, I looked at him and I said, if you promise to love your wife, holding no expectations of her, anything she does for you is going to be an incredible blessing. What a great way to receive your wife is that you have no expectations. So if she does anything at all, man, this is awesome, right? Now that's supposed to be our thought and our position. Obviously, that's not where we find ourselves. Again, there's these conditions. We hold back, and that's where it starts to spiral.
Yeah. And so, for us, in our relationship, we were so fortunate that after we got married, we got back from our honeymoon, and they started a newlywed class. Every week we went going, we need this so bad.
Yeah.
And it was just exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned, a fallacy out there, I don't believe, this is my opinion, that any couple at the beginning is compatible. I really don't. I think they become that. I think they develop that. But to look and say, well, we're compatible here. Now, you have to have some compatibility, obviously.
Right.
But to say we were fully compatible, no, you weren't. Because you had different mindsets, different beliefs, different expectations,
Different habits.
different, oh my gosh, that none of them came out till you got married. And so the compatibility part is a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah.
That's developed. And so what Sylvia and I did, I believe the key for us is, to me, the best definition of love is meeting needs. The Bible says, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave.
Mm-hmm.
He met our needs. When y'all, what do you have, 6 kids?
Mm-hmm.
When they were babies, 3-4 weeks old, they'd be crying at night. You wouldn't necessarily feel in love, but you would go in and do whatever it took. You'd meet their needs because you loved them. And so for us, David, one of the major keys to our marriage is finding out what really are your needs. Mm-hmm. Now, the biggest mistake I made, oh my gosh, I thought my wife was normal.
Careful.
Which means her needs, if she's normal, they'll be just like my needs. Yeah. So I went about meeting her needs the way I wanted her to meet my needs. Completely missed it.
That's right.
I mean, and it was so frustrating because I loved her. I'm doing all these things that I know should want, should need, but I was missing it, David.
Yeah.
Because I assumed her needs were the same as mine.
Right.
Until we began to learn our needs are so different.
So that comes from, looking back at my life, these last 8 years being single now, I always thought that we had a perfect marriage, Yeah, we can laugh at that. I really did, because we never fought. It wasn't until these last few years, as I've really gone through my inner healing and my journey there, to where I realized how totally unhealthy it was that we didn't, quote unquote, fight, because conflict is so important to growth, right? And, I think I operated out of fear sometimes. If I was to talk to her and try to figure out what does she really need and what does she really want, and am I performing properly, I didn't go there. And then she never brought it up either, because the way she was brought up, she buried everything, and me, I avoided everything. So that made a marriage that never had a fight, and that's not good, is it?
Speaking of covenant community,
mm-hmm.
It says, in a relationship, man to man, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Through conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's you go to the gym and you work out. You build your muscle through conflict with the weights. Right.
Walking through and understanding how to do conflict in a healthy way. Yeah.
I had last year, I think it was, a good friend, Tyson Morlett, came on, and he and his wife do marriage counseling, and they're just a great couple. But he said something that, it just blew me away. It's like, I wish I would have known that 25 years ago, right? But he talked about conflicting towards something.
Yes.
Not conflicting against one another. And that's such a key to understand is you have a goal that you want to do, right? As a couple, we want to get here, and you remind each other that I'm not liking you right now. I disagree with you right now, but remember, we're going here.
Yes.
That's conflicting towards something, and it's not accusing one another and getting in this tit for tat, going after each other.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I learned about my wife is that her deepest core need in our relationship is security.
Okay.
But it was not security, it was not a financial security, but it was security to know that she was the most important person, thing in my life, above kids, above in-laws, above parents, above finances, above a career. She was number one. That, I believe, is for most wives. That longing to know that I am the most significant person in my husband's lives. That gives them this deep sense of security. Now, the mistake I made, I would tell her that all the time. And it's like, yeah. But, so I would ask her, honey, tell me practically, how can I communicate, show you that you are the absolute most important
That's a great
person
question.
in my life? Because I didn't know.
No. Well, we just think so different.
We think different. And so that was so critical for her. Number two was so hard for me. I was horrible at it. My wife, like I think most wives, long for sincere communication. That is like oxygen to them. Intimate, sincere communication. And so I would come home from work in the early years and Sylvia would say, we need to talk. I would go, okay. And then we'd sit down and I would say, why don't you go first? Because I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. But what I did not know, I quite honestly, David, put on this front that I had it all together.
Yeah.
She knew I did it.
Right.
The intimate communication was when I became very honest with my fears, my misgivings. I thought if I was honest and told her that I had these struggles, she'd think I'm some wussy guy.
Right.
It was just the opposite. She could then enter and add her strength to where I was struggling.
So there's a vulnerability there that culturally is, in lots of cultures, I mean, across the globe, is not encouraged. The man's just gotta suck it up and, just make it happen, just keep pushing through and pushing through. To be able to have that kind of communication with your wife, I'm telling you, I know exactly, because looking back, I would not go to my wife and really have those kind of conversations because I was afraid of the perception she might have on me, right? Of me. I wasn't as afraid of her quote unquote reaction, but it was more of her, basically it came down to, do I really trust her? And you can't really trust somebody until you really trust somebody.
That's true.
You got to put action to it to really trust somebody,
I didn't want to be honest with my wife about my struggles and fears because I didn't want her to be disappointed with me.
Yeah.
But it was just the opposite. And this is what is so amazing about marriage. It is two people who aren't fully compatible, who one gets to add their strength to the other's struggles. And then vice versa. So what you're doing in a marriage that makes this so great is you're continually offering strength back and forth.
Right. And you're really bonding.
Yeah.
That's true bonding, right? Where you say, I can't do this without you.
Yeah.
And it's truth.
It is so true.
I'm better with you, but honestly, I can't do this without you. And that's what keeps marriages together. so many of these marriages that I'm dealing with right now that are struggling, it's the spouse, and like I say, most of them are women right now, but I'm not throwing them under the bus. Guys do the same thing. Is this concept or this statement that they'll make, I don't love you anymore, right? And they create a justification narrative saying, I don't know if I ever, I don't know how long it's been since I really loved you. Maybe I never really did love you, and it's this craziness that comes out because love is not a romantic feeling. It's a decision and a choice, right? But it takes real courage.
David, I've had couples come in and sit down and they're wanting to get a divorce. I'll say, why? And they'll say, we just don't love each other anymore. And you know what my response is? Well, that's okay. Just start. And they go, no, you don't understand. We don't love each other. I said, no, it's totally fine. Just start. And they go, okay, what are we missing here? I'm saying what you're talking about is the emotional response or feelings. Those ebb and flow.
Absolutely.
And they always will.
And it changes in seasons. A lot of the guys listening today are, by the way, the majority of our guys that are listening are not guys your age or my age. It's men who are in their 30s and 40s, and so they're dads, and they're building their careers, and they're at different points of their lives. Well, and you guys are living it right now. Marriages and love change when you've got littles around you, and then these kids are starting to get involved in sports and activities, and then they've got their own personality issues, and then you're switching jobs, or your finances might not be as good, or you're being called to travel more. I mean, what's love got to do with it? Remember that song? What's love got to do with it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it can't be based on an emotional response.
It's based upon going back, meeting needs.
Yep.
But I promise you, if you will begin to truly meet the needs of that other person, the feelings will come.
So there's this, we're obviously Christian men, both pastors, but there's this scripture that I love, and I've taught on it many times. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Yes.
Now, that is quite different than what we think emotionally. We think we'll invest in the things we love. And so we put love first. So I'll invest in my spouse if I'm feeling love. But according to that scripture, is if you invest in your spouse, love's going to follow.
Absolutely.
And that's true in every relationship, but especially in marriage.
Yes.
If your treasure is treasure, what I mean by that is your attention, right? Your very best actions, meeting the needs, you're investing emotionally, you're investing in every way, right? Your attention, that's huge in a marriage, in a relationship. So if I'm giving you my attention, if I'm looking at you and I'm seeing you rightly, and you're doing that with your wife, your heart's going to follow that.
It really is.
Yeah.
The third, I believe, key or basic need for Sylvie, and I think for most wives, is sincere praise. What happens with men? We are hunters, right? We're created that way. And I don't mean necessarily having to...
We're created to explore, to hunt, to build,
yes,
to develop.
And so we're dating this gal.
Yeah.
And we're putting on our best.
Absolutely.
And we're doing whatever we can to catch her. We get married, it's like, ta-da, caught her. And we don't think that necessarily in a bad way. We don't even think that. But in reality, that's kind of one of the ways we're made. And so what happens, the wife needs more praise and affirmation after the wedding day than before.
That's good.
Because she longs to please her husband. She wants to know, am I doing a good job? Is this... And all of a sudden, after the marriage, after the honeymoon, the husband, not intentionally, but starts dropping off some of the romantic things. And not meaning to, but it sends a message to her, I must be doing something wrong.
Wow.
He's not. And so sincere praise is so critical, that we thank him for this. We celebrate that. We just, we go overboard with gratefulness, sincere. And very few things feed our emotional heart like sincere praise.
It's true. I mean, think about a guy at work and he's doing a good job and his superiors come in and they praise him for it. That goes a long, long way, right? I mean, that builds you up. It's interesting because I'm going to go back to the wedding vow thing of having no expectations. What I see what happens in marriages from a man's point of view is that he's there and he's working, and both spouses are working, but he's doing everything he can. He thinks he's doing a good job. He's not having real good, honest communication. And so when he does invest, he says, okay, he'll hear something like this saying, okay, I'm going to give her some praise and everything. He has an expectation tied to that. And that's a relationship killer.
It is.
Unrealistic expectations cause more damage in a marriage than anything else. And it's like, well, I did this and this for her, and she's not giving me sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's wrong with that? I mowed the lawn and I showered.
Yeah.
But that's what we get. We get these guys who's like going, okay, I've bought in and I'm going to really invest myself and I'm going to say the right things. I'm going to sit down with her and I'm going to have a really honest communication. And then they sit down and have honest communication and she doesn't respond the way he thinks she should. And right away he's like going,
I tried that.
I tried.
That's why I go back to love your wife as Christ loved the church. Initiate, continuous, non-conditional.
That's so good. So the 3 keys, again, is you initiate the love.
Yeah.
And that's investing.
Yes.
Right.
And that's
putting
the
your
grace that God gives
right.
you.
But that's putting your treasure.
Yes.
That's you investing in her. Because
Yes.
love will follow that. The other part is continuous, right? That there's never a explain that a little bit. Let's go into that. I think I need a little more clarity when you
on that, to say, and I've known marriages, people say, I'll give you 5 years, and if it doesn't work, we just go our separate ways. Or I'll do this, and we kind of set a time limit.
Yeah.
I will work this. We do that in life. I'll work this job until, I'll try this sport until, I'll do this until, but so many things in life we put time limits on. You can't do that in a relationship.
Yeah.
I know you're dragon slayers. One of the core things, it's for life.
That's right.
And so in a marriage, the thing that will bring security to a wife more than anything else is the consistent, continuous, I am going to pursue you.
Despite the circumstances you might be facing at that time, right?
I'm going to receive the very grace of God, and I will pursue you.
That's good. That's good.
And it will not be conditional.
Right.
So those 3 things are so key.
It sounds pretty great to me, and I want to speak to the guys who are in the middle of the throes, right? They're really struggling right now. Let's say you're in a position, there's a guy listening today he's in a position where his marriage is like on the brink. What does he do? What does he do? What's some advice? I know everyone's situation's different, but how's he supposed to respond in this?
It's that whole thing of, I don't feel it. I don't feel in love. I don't necessarily even want to.
Yeah.
But God, you said you would give me the grace.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to Brian Simmons quite a bit lately, and he wrote the Passion Translation. He said the two most important words in the Bible are the first verse of Song of Solomon. And you know what it says? Let him. And then it goes on, kiss me with the...
Okay.
But the first one is let him.
Mm.
And so a husband, let him give you that grace.
Yeah.
Let him give you the strength. Let him.
That's so good.
And so, without God's grace, and so that's what I would say.
So I tell guys, when you're really in a, see if you agree with this, but the men who are really, I mean, they're struggling. There's guys I'm working with, their wives have given them, hey, after our daughter graduates, I'm gone, or after our kid, putting that time limit. But they're at that point, sleeping in different bedrooms, living in the same house, basically co-parenting. And I tell them this. I said, first thing you have to do is you have to take that honest appraisal of yourself, right? And you've got to become the best version of you.
Yes.
And we believe the way you do that is through surrender.
Yes.
It's not manning up. It's surrender and realize you can't do this alone. You need God. You need other men in your life. You need to become and that's a vulnerable place, But I always challenge them to do that. And I challenge them also don't partner with the circumstance, the stuff that's swinging. You can't partner with that. You can't react to that.
Yeah.
If she leaves you, she leaves you.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? You're going to be the best Richard, the best David that you can be. And that needs grace, It needs to be vulnerable in others in your life.
David, there's something else that's key here. And I'm so grateful. Jesus told his disciples, I'll give you the keys of the kingdom. I believe every heart there are keys to. So for a husband, Father, you created my wife. You know the keys to her heart.
Yeah.
Not with expectations that if I do this, this has to be the outcome. But I ask you for the keys to her heart. And there's guys watching now, and I encourage you. Two things. Ask the Lord for his grace, but to do that, to love your wives that way, but also ask for the key to her heart.
The key to her heart.
Yeah. Every heart has a key to unlock it.
It's interesting. One of the guys, a success story. He and his wife are at this critical point, and I spoke with him, and I said, what do you have to lose? And he's like, well, nothing. I go, she's out, right? And I said, why don't you just go to her and say, hey, I just want to talk. Where did we go wrong? How did I hurt you? How did you get here? And not in a way where he's going to defend himself. I said, just go and listen. And he went, and she didn't respond real well. But then he went back, and he says, listen, I know that it's over for us, but I want to become a better man. I want to be a better version of myself. Can you just help me out here? Where did I go? And I said, don't talk back, just listen. They started doing that, having that conversation, and she started to invest in him, not intentionally at first, but she did, and slowly her heart softened, and then she agreed to go to marriage counseling, and now they're repairing their marriage, But it became where he just went to her, and he's like, well, and he told me, he says, I've never talked to her like that. I go, no kidding. That's why you're in the position.
Yeah.
So I think, as you said, finding out what's the keys to her heart.
The other thing, and Sylvia and I, for years, had on our refrigerator 12 keys to communication. And number one, and this so important in life, in society, in work, and whatever. Primarily, the goal of communication is to win.
True.
In a relationship, the goal of communication is understanding.
Wow, that is so good.
And that has to be there. So because of that, when you're asking questions, lose the why word. Why is primarily accusatory.
Yeah.
But instead, can you help me understand?
That's,
You're inviting them in. But when people know the goal of communication is understanding, then it's not about winning.
right.
We had a situation, David, one time, and this was 30 years ago. My wife, out of the blue, just kind of shocked me. She goes, "You never put your socks in the clothes hamper." I went, "Wow, that's..." So I said, "Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying I never put my socks in the clothes hamper." "Well, not never, but..." I said, "Okay, I buy that." And so knowing how to communicate, two of the worst words in communication is never and always.
Yes. That never works. It always brings up a bad
always
result.
brings up.
Yeah.
And so lose those two, but you have to go into everything.
Yeah.
The goal is understanding.
I love that. I think that as we get ready to wrap up here, I think that takeaway is probably the key takeaway from everything that I've heard, because I do know in my looking back to where our marriage, how did my wife get to that place where she decided she wanted to walk away? It's very easy early on to be hurt and offended and the victim, and she's wrong, how could she do this? But looking back and gaining understanding even on my own of how she got there, it didn't make her decision right. It was still the wrong decision, but I understood how she got there, and I realized, wow, that wasn't overnight. That was years, and it was years of us not having the communication that we should have had. And again, we didn't fight. Everyone thought we were like superstars.
Perfect family.
And until we weren't, and that's humbling.
David, if I could add one more thing to the whole communication, and this is a biggie, and I'll just be honest, I would say 80% of the time when Sylvia and I are at odds, by the way, by God's grace, in this list of 12 things, I think number 7 says never raise your voice. In 44 years, we've never yelled at each other.
Yeah.
But in this, we've practiced what I call drive-through communication.
Okay.
When I go to Starbucks, I'll say, "I'd like a iced decaf latte with 1 extra pump, some cinnamon added to it, whipped cream, and a venti." She goes, "Okay, so you want this?" And she repeats back everything I said. And I go, "No, that's not quite right. I said this." And then communication in a relationship can really only start when you both agree.
Yeah.
Because I would say 80% of the time when we had conflict, when it's finally resolved, we're like, "Oh, I thought you meant this. Oh, I thought you meant that." So in this goal of understanding, you have to dig down to what is it that really are we talking about.
See, that's good. So when you said agree right away, I was thinking, well, sometimes in a conflict you just don't agree. But what you're saying is that you agree that you are saying the same thing.
Yes. Then you can really communicate, talk about it, and the possibility of solving it.
Yeah.
But if she thinks this is the problem, you think this is the problem, well, like the whole socks, the socks were not the problem. It was my lackadaisical attitude towards keeping things clean.
Right.
But if we would have gone, I could have gone off on socks, and it wouldn't have been any good.
No.
Until we, so this is what you're saying. You're really upset because of it. Well, no. Till we finally, it's like, okay, so what is it really?
That's good.
Because I want to understand.
So it's so good, Richard. I appreciate you being here. And guys, I hope you get this, that there's, at least for me, those takeaways about understanding
Is the goal.
is the goal. So the goal isn't to win.
Right.
That won't end well. It's to understand. So you're communicating to understand. And in that communication, you need clarity. But the other thing, guys, is that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You don't always feel love. Matter of fact, probably most of the time you don't.
Yeah.
Most of the time you don't. You might be feeling a little bit of lust, a little bit of friskiness, a little, enjoyment, but you will love the things that you invest in. And if you invest in your spouse, if you invest in your wife, your heart's going to follow that. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So good. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I just love you so much. So if you can do us a favor, as always, if you could subscribe, if you could leave comments, if you can share, this all helps the algorithm. It's been an amazing journey that Next Third Best Third's been on. And by the end of the year, we're going to crack 1,000 subscribers. And we're already planning on building and doing some events in the next year. So
Great.
Yeah, things are growing, but it's because of y'all, and it's because of great guests like you. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.